Hello and welcome back to Actual English, everyone. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 262, and today's topic is self-introduction 2. So in 261, we talked about self-introductions. Alan and Mary were talking about how and when they came to Korea, what it was like when they first came to Korea. Perhaps what they like about Korea. Now, today they will be talking about more details. They'll be talking about how long they plan to live in Korea and much more. So let's listen very carefully to the conversation. Are you ready? Okay, here is today's actual talk. So you've been here 10 years. Do you know how long you plan to stay?
Probably indefinitely.
Okay.
I have a wife and daughter here.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we're pretty settled here. So my trajectory is pretty set, I think.
Do you? How old's your daughter?
My daughter is 20 months old now,
Oh, a
so,
baby.
Yeah, she's adorable, but that age is very difficult. It can be. She has a lot of tantrums.
Yeah. We call it terrible twos.
Right.
Almost 2 years old.
That's where she is, but we still have time for fun as well.
So is your wife Korean?
Yes, yeah, my wife is Korean.
Yeah, my husband's Korean as well.
Oh, wow, so we have that in common.
Yeah.
So what are your
nice.
plans for living in Korea?
I'm not really sure. We're trying to figure that out right now. I've been here 5 years. I love it here, but I'm interested in a graduate school program that's not available here. It's available in Australia and America. So,
so you might have to leave.
Trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love it here. I love being in the city. I love being in a safe city.
Yeah, it's very safe here, I noticed.
Yeah.
And all my friends that come to visit, they always say how safe it is.
Yeah.
So what do you like about Korea specifically?
Oh, so many things. I love... The food is good. I love the mountains.
Right.
I've recently started traveling outside of Seoul a bit more.
Oh, really?
I'm driving to, I think it's called Cheongpyeong,
Right.
a big lake, and then there's mountains everywhere almost.
Yeah,
And
the lakes and the mountains here are wonderful.
phenomenal, right?
Yeah, it's good to get out of Seoul sometimes and get
Yeah, I totally forget that that's out there. You get stuck in this concrete jungle and you think this is all there is.
But it's not that far away. If you go
Yeah.
1 hour out of Seoul, then you can find somewhere very relaxing.
Yeah, quaint and peaceful.
Right.
Welcome back, everyone. That was self-introduction 2 between Mary and Alan. Now, as I did tell you, they began by talking about for how much longer they plan to stay or reside in Korea. So let's take a look at it together. Here we go. Mary says, so you've been here 10 years. We all understand that Alan has been in Korea for 10 years. Well, she asks, do you know how long you plan to stay? Do you know how long you plan to stay in Korea? He says probably indefinitely. Indefinitely. I-N, definitely. So if you say indefinitely, it means with no limit, limitless. So he's saying, well, I don't know, but I can stay here forever, for a very, very long time. I have a wife and a daughter here. We are pretty settled here. Now, if you say that you are settled in or settled at a specific place, location, or a country, you are saying that everything is taken care of. You're now comfortable. You have adjusted to your surroundings or the new environment. Say, for example, if you move into a new apartment or a new house, you can say that you're settled in if you have all your furniture and everything organized. You're settled. You're settled in your new apartment. So that is what he means. We are pretty settled here, meaning they're comfortable. Everything is good here in Korea. And so he says, my trajectory is pretty set. Trajectory, a synonym would be a path or a track or a trail. Basically, we're talking about a line of development, okay? Like a path or a line of development. My trajectory is pretty set. So he's talking about his future plans. Everything seems to be set, okay? The path in which he will continue seems to be pretty stable and all good, okay? How old is your daughter, she asks. My daughter is 20 months old. 20 months old. So she's still a baby. Mary says, oh, a baby. And he says, yeah, she's adorable. Adorable is just another word for cute. Very cute. We often say, oh, babies are so adorable, so cute, you want to bite them, right? In those cases, you would say that he or she, a baby, or even a dog or a cat can be adorable too. You want to cuddle with them, you want to hold them and kiss them and hug them, and just, if something is so cute or if somebody is cute, you can say that he, she, or it is adorable. So she's adorable, but that age is very difficult. We're talking about age 2, right? That age is very difficult. She has a lot of tantrums. What is a tantrum? A tantrum is like an outburst of anger. Very difficult to control, okay? You can have a tantrum, which means to go crazy, okay? It can be because you're upset, because you're angry, because you can't have what you want. If you just go crazy, okay? That is to have a tantrum. Babies often do that. If they can't get what they want, they go wild and they cry, right? So babies can have a lot of tantrums. Mary says, yeah, we call it the terrible twos. We'll practice this in our pattern today. Terrible twos. Okay, what does that mean? This is a time in which babies are almost the most impossible to control, most difficult to control. I would say between the ages of maybe 1.5 to maybe 2.5 years old, or maybe 3.5 years old these days. Babies are very difficult to control. So we call it the terrible twos because at age 2, babies are very difficult to handle. So we'll practice how to use that later on. Anyhow, she says we call it the terrible twos. Right. That's where she is, because she is what? At age 2, but we still have time for fun as well. Okay, so she does have her fits and tantrums. She is in her terrible twos, but there is time for fun as well, of course. Now they talk about their husband and wife. Mary asks, is your wife Korean? He says, yes, my wife is Korean. And Mary says, my husband is Korean as well. Oh, wow, so we have that in common. Okay, they're talking about similarities. Oh, we have that in common. Your wife is Korean, my husband is Korean. So, what are your plans for living in Korea? What are your plans for living in Korea? Let's see. Mary says, I'm not really sure. Nothing's definite. She says, we're trying to figure that out right now. If you say figure something out, you are saying that you are understanding something better. If you say, I will have to figure that out, it means I will have to try to understand something better. It means to comprehend, to understand, okay, better. So here she's saying we're trying to figure that out right now. They're trying to come up with a plan. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about what their plans may be in the future. I've been here 5 years. I love it here, but I'm interested in a graduate school program. So this is what Mary is interested in right now. That is not available here. It's available in Australia and America. So what is she saying? She's saying that her plans for the future, she does not have any definite plan, but she has an idea. She's trying to figure out what she will do. She's trying to think, okay, about what she's going to do. But we know that she wants to study, okay? She's interested in a graduate school program, so she wants to go to graduate school, but since what she wants to study is not available here, meaning in Korea, she's saying perhaps she might have to go to Australia or America, where the program is available. Okay? So Alan says, right, you might have to leave. You might have to leave Korea. You might have to go to America or Australia, okay, to study. Now she says, trying to figure that out right now. Now, of course, we are was omitted, or I'm trying to figure that out right now would have also worked. But she says, I love it here. I love being in the city. I love being in a safe city. Of course, Seoul is known to be a safe city worldwide, so that's what she is saying. She enjoys living in Seoul, but she is interested in going to graduate school, but that program is not available in Korea, so she might have to leave and go to America or Australia to study. Now, since she mentioned that Seoul is a very safe city, Alan says, yeah, it's very safe here, I noticed. All my friends that come to visit say so. So, what do you like about Korea specifically? What exactly do you like about Korea? What do you like about Korea specifically? She says, oh, so many things. Now, when somebody asks you a question and there are many things, like many answers, you can say, oh, so many things, and then start off number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's when you would start talking about or responding with your answers. So she likes so many things about Korea, so she says, oh, so many things. The food is good, okay? The food is good. I love the mountains. And she says, I've recently started traveling outside of Seoul a bit more. So outside of Seoul, meaning outside of the city. Perhaps she's been traveling to the countryside, to the suburbs, as we studied in our previous lesson. And she says she's been driving to a place called Cheongpyeong, a big lake. And then there are mountains everywhere. That's right, there are lots of mountains across the nation in Seoul. So he says, yeah, the lakes and mountains here are wonderful. Now, Mary says just phenomenal, right? Phenomenal. You might have heard phenomenal many, many, many times. It means exceptionally good, astonishingly good. If something is extraordinarily good, you can say it's phenomenal, okay? It's phenomenal. So he says it's good to get out of Seoul sometimes. Get out of a certain location means to leave, okay? So he's saying it's nice to get out of Seoul sometimes. It's nice to go to the countryside, or it's nice to go to other places surrounding Seoul, okay? Just to get away from Seoul, okay? One more time. It's good to get out of Seoul. It's good to get away from Seoul sometimes is also a way of putting it. Mary says, I totally forgot that that's out there. What's out there? Okay, she's talking about the mountains and the lakes and everything. She says, you get stuck in this concrete jungle and you think this is all there is. All right, what is she saying here? They've mentioned lakes and mountains, so many places worth visiting outside of Seoul. So she says, come to think of it, now that you mentioned the lakes and the mountains, I think I totally forgot that those things were out there, okay? Those things are available. And she says, you get stuck in this concrete jungle. If you're stuck somewhere, you're unable to escape. You're unable to move. So she's saying, you get stuck in this concrete jungle, meaning city. She's talking about the city. Why? Because concrete, we often use, or we don't, but people, when they build buildings, they use concrete, right, to build buildings. So buildings, since they are made with concrete, we can say that the city is a concrete jungle because in the city we often see many, many buildings. So many buildings put together, it's like a jungle of concrete buildings. So this is just another way of saying a very busy city with lots of high rises. So, you get stuck in this concrete jungle and you think this is all there is, or that is all there is. All there is, or all there are buildings and buildings and buildings in the city. You forget that there's nature surrounding it. Alan says, but it's not that far away. The places you can visit are not that far away. If you go 1 hour out of Seoul, then you can find somewhere very relaxing. And then they come to an end of the conversation and Mary says, yes, that's right, quaint and peaceful. So here we have a new word, quaint and peaceful. She's talking about those areas outside of Seoul, just outside Seoul. And these places can be peaceful and quaint. Often when we use the word quaint, we're talking about something that's old-fashioned. Something can be old-fashioned or old, perhaps from 10, 20, 50 years, 100 years ago, but it's very attractive in its own way. So quaint has a very nice meaning to it. It's old-fashioned, it's old yet very attractive. So she says, yeah, those areas, those places just outside the city, yeah, they're quaint and peaceful. And that brings us to an end to today's actual talk conversation. All right, since we've gone over many vocab words and some expressions, phrases, let's take a listen to it one more time.
So you've been here 10 years. Do you know how long you plan to stay?
Probably indefinitely.
Okay.
I have a wife and daughter here.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, we're pretty settled here, so my trajectory is pretty set, I think.
Yeah. Do you? How old's your daughter?
My daughter is 20 months old now.
Oh,
so,
a baby.
Yeah, she's adorable, but that age is very difficult. It can be. She has a lot of tantrums.
Yeah. We call it terrible twos.
Right.
Almost 2 years old.
That's where she is, but we still have time for fun as well.
So is your wife Korean?
Yes, yeah, my
Okay.
wife is Korean.
Yeah, my husband's Korean as
Oh,
well.
wow, so we have that
Yeah.
in common.
Yeah.
So what are
It's
your
nice.
plans for living in Korea?
I'm not really sure. We're trying to figure that out right now. I've been here 5 years. I love it here,
Right.
but I'm interested in a graduate school program that's not available here. It's available in Australia and America. So
Right, so you might have to leave.
trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love it here. I love being in the city. I love
Right.
being in a safe city.
Yeah, it's very safe here, I noticed. And
yeah.
all my friends that come to visit, they always say how safe it is.
Yeah.
So what do you like about Korea specifically?
Oh, so many things. I love the food is good. I love the mountains.
Right.
I've recently started traveling outside of Seoul a bit more.
Oh, really?
I'm driving to, I think it's called Cheongpyeong,
Right.
a big lake, and then there's mountains everywhere almost.
Yeah,
And
the lakes and the mountains here are wonderful.
phenomenal, right?
Yeah, it's good to get out of Seoul sometimes and get
Yeah, I totally
separate.
forget that that's out there. You get stuck in this concrete jungle and you think this is all there is.
But it's not that far away. If you go
Yeah.
1 hour out of Seoul, then you can find somewhere very relaxing.
Yeah, quaint and
Right.
peaceful.
Right.
Welcome back, everyone. Are you ready for actual expressions? Let's review some of the vocab words and the phrases from the actual talk conversation. Okay, if we take a look, there's indefinitely. Indefinitely. I believe Alan was talking about how long he plans to stay in Korea, but he said that, well, it's indefinite, meaning forever. He's not quite sure for how long he plans to stay in Korea, but he plans to stay here indefinitely for a very, very long time, continually or forever. Trajectory. Trajectory. This is a tricky word to pronounce. It means a course or a path or a line of development, and the pronunciation is, once again, trajectory. Trajectory. One more time, trajectory. Tantrum. Tantrum. The next time you talk about someone that loses their temper all of a sudden, especially when you talk about your kids, your little kids, how they all of a sudden lose their temper and they burst into anger, you can say tantrum. Somebody had a tantrum, or she often has a tantrum. A tantrum is what? An outburst or a temper. Moving on, specifically, we're saying especially or particularly, and the stress goes on the second syllable. Specifically. Specifically. If you take a look, it's C-A-L-L-Y, but we don't say specifically, okay? specifically. Specifically, okay? So, moving on to phenomenal. If something is extraordinary, outstanding, exceptional, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. And what about quaint? As I did tell you, it's very attractive in an old-fashioned way. So you can say that something is whimsical or even archaic. Archaic is a good one. Quaint, archaic. Okay, let's move on to our first pattern. Terrible twos. Okay, we're talking about a time, a period in which a child develops just around the ages of maybe 1.5, 2 to even maybe 3. Those ages where babies tend to be the craziest, the most difficult to control and handle. Okay, terrible twos. I think in Korea, I think they say the terrible fours. Okay, because they consider age 4. Babies around the age 4 are very crazy and very difficult to handle. Okay, I think there's 미운 4살. Yeah, this is very similar. In English, it's the terrible twos. My nephew is horrible. Why? Because he's in his terrible twos. Okay, one more time. My nephew is horrible because he's in his terrible twos. Moving on, figure something out. To figure something out means to comprehend or understand something better. Okay? You can also say, I need to figure this out, meaning I need to think about it to come up with a solution or an answer. You can figure out a problem, meaning you can study it or try working at it to come out with an answer to that question or problem. We should figure out what to eat before leaving. So in this case, we're saying we should find out what we're going to eat before leaving. Okay? We should first of all think about what we're going to eat and then leave. And then moving on to concrete jungle. We talked about what this is. A concrete jungle is what? A city. City full of high-rise, tall buildings. A very busy city with lots of tall buildings. I'd love to live in the country. Why? Because the city is becoming a concrete jungle. If you don't like the busyness of the city, if you want some quietness and peacefulness, and you want to live in the countryside, you can say, I would love to live in the country or countryside because the city is becoming a concrete jungle. Okay, it's becoming filled with more and more tall buildings. Okay, I guess that about does it for today's actual expressions, everyone. Practice them more on your own.
Well, because I went to Australia when I was 1, I was actually born here in Seoul, I didn't really know what to expect when I first came to Korea about 6 to 7 years ago. I wanted to have an extended vacation, in essence, just to enjoy the Korean food, enjoy the Korean culture, because it's so rich and so diverse. It's apparently 5,000 years old, so I thought, maybe I'd come to Korea, study a little bit more Korean, go around doing a tour of all the really good restaurants here in Korea, taste a lot of good Korean food, have a look at the artifacts, the sites and the monuments, the palaces, the temples and stuff like that. But I came here and I just fell in love with the Korean culture and just the activity and the buzz that 1 year extended to about 2 years, 3 years, and now it's my 7th year here. And I ended up finding work, which is really good. And I met a really nice person, and I'm planning to get married soon. So I think my stay in Korea will be a little bit more extended than I initially thought. So I just love going around, just meeting different people. And I think, if you keep an open mind while traveling abroad, you really don't know what will happen. So yeah, give it a go.
We're joined by a new face, everyone. Joanne was helping us out with today's actual story. Now, she's mentioned that she was born here, but she was raised in a foreign country, another country. She did come back to Korea, but when she arrived, What happened? She fell in love with the culture and the activity and the buzz, and 2 years became 3 years, and 3 years became 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So let's take a look at the actual story response. I didn't really know what to expect when I came to Korea. So what is she saying in this sentence? I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect means I had no idea what it was going to be like. I had no idea what Korea was going to be like. So once again, I didn't really know what to expect when I came to Korea. I wanted to have an extended vacation. So she initially came for a vacation, just to enjoy the Korean food and the Korean culture. Why? Because it's so rich and so diverse. Yes, rich because we have a rich history, and diverse. There's a lot of diversity, okay? So initially she came here for a vacation, but what happened? She ended up staying longer. I think my stay in Korea will be a little bit more extended than I initially thought. So she's saying that she thinks that she will end up staying in Korea for much longer than she thought in the beginning, initially, originally. So yeah, definitely, that's for sure, because she came here for a vacation, but she's fallen in love with the Korean culture and food and much more, that I think she's going to end up staying in Korea indefinitely, perhaps for a very long time. Okay, let's take a listen one more time.
Well, because I went to Australia when I was one, well, I was actually born here in Seoul, I didn't really know what to expect when I first came to Korea about 6 to 7 years ago. I wanted to have an extended vacation, in essence, just to enjoy the Korean food, enjoy the Korean culture, because it's so rich and so diverse. It's apparently 5,000 years old, so I thought maybe I'd come to Korea, study a little bit more Korean, go around doing a tour of all the really good restaurants here in Korea, taste a lot of good Korean food, have a look at the artifacts, the sites and the monuments, the palaces, the temples and stuff like that. But I came here and I just fell in love with the Korean culture and just the activity and the buzz that 1 year extended to about 2 years, 3 years, and now it's my 7th year here. And I ended up finding work, which is really good. And I met a really nice person, and I'm planning to get married soon. So I think my stay in Korea will be a little bit more extended than I initially thought. So I just love going around, just meeting different people. And I think, if you keep an open mind while traveling abroad, you really don't know what will happen. So yeah, give it a go.
As Joanna's mentioned in her actual story response, it is true that you will discover much more than you expect when you travel abroad. So give it a go, everyone. Who knows, just like Joanne, you may go to a certain location, fall in love with that place, even better, find work, get a job, find your special person if you're still single, and end up living there in a wonderful, exotic place. Anyhow, that is all for today's lesson. Hope you learned a lot. We will continue on with self-introduction in our next lesson as well. Let's find out what else you can talk about when it comes to introducing yourself to someone you've met for the first time. Okay? So please come to our homepage, everyone. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr and look for Actual English with Jennifer. Post your thoughts and comments. Okay, that's it for today. I'll catch you again next time. Until then, take care and bye for now.